Keaton. Nice to meet you.
Well, it's nice to see you again.
Nice
How are you doing?
Doing well. Just fighting the good fight, you know.
I love it. How have you been the last couple of weeks since the business owners meeting?
Pretty good. Played a little golf and dealing with all kinds of fun stuff. As you know, we've got the Panama City campus and making sure that business runs.
And take advantage of the good weather before it gets too hot, right?
That's the problem we have down here.
Yeah.
Most people think, summertime's the time to get outside, play golf, enjoy yourself. It's time to go to the beach or go on the boat, and that's about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll tell you what, I like to spend my time out on the boat. That's a good time. I like to do some fishing and stuff. So.
What do you catch? What do you go for?
We went out a couple months ago. Caught a lot of snapper, some grouper, some that were out of season, unfortunately, because they were good sized fish. It would have been nice to keep them.
Awesome.
And then I caught a bonita, which was good, fun fish to catch, but
yeah, they fight. They got a lot of muscle.
Right, not a good eating fish, so still fun nonetheless.
I was down in Costa Rica about a month ago, and
nice.
we were catching sailfish, black marlin, mahi, and tuna.
Wow, those sound like some fun catches. Holy cow!
I brought in the one tuna we caught, and we wound up eating it on the boat. Like, put it on ice for like 45 minutes. And
oh, that is so cool.
The mate comes in the cabin after I haul this fish up, and he literally looks at me and he goes, "What the hell, are you doing yoga or something?" my back was on fire.
Right.
So there was a table in the cabin, and whatever. Sometimes you just need to stretch.
Oh, for sure.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. You like sashimi it or something?
That's it, with
Nice.
wasabi and soy sauce.
Man, that sounds
That's the
great.
way to do it.
For sure.
I gotta get out with you guys. That sounds awesome. Holy cow.
Let's do a little business. Maybe we'll find a way.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
We love that. Well, since the last time we spoke, I guess I should first introduce Keaton. I know we've met all the way through, but Keaton's kind of our resident manufacturing expert here.
Thank you.
So he's been working with a lot of businesses your size for the last few years. He's had a lot of success in their programs. But I'll let Keaton kind of.
Yeah, so Logan and I joined the agency right about the same time. We're actually graduates of the same university.
Wonderful.
And so we kind of came on together. I have background in the manufacturing and construction space specifically, so I've kind of made that area my niche over the last 2 years. And so we think you guys have got really a killer account here. We think that it, matches well with, what we look for and the products that we have.
Great.
So needless to say, we're pretty excited to have this opportunity.
What do you look for?
So specifically, some of the things that we look for, people with a lot of the people in your space have a lot of workers' compensation claims, a lot of frequency, so clear, risk control practices to kind of make sure that your frequency as well as risk reduction severity is cut down as well. We want to make sure that you guys are well represented in the community. We want businesses that have substantial size, but also have operations and are well respected.
Sure.
Because business and reputation speaks for itself, and we kind of want to have a good reputation, and so we think it's important to pair ourselves with businesses of like and kind. So yeah.
So Brett, last time we spoke, you said that you felt like IQL was kind of outgrowing the services that your current agents provide, and that you weren't getting adequate service and coverage. Has anything changed in the last couple of weeks?
No, that kind of characterizes why we're sitting here and why I'm open to making a change.
Fantastic. So if you don't mind me asking, do you know if your current agent is independent, or do they work with like a specific insurance agency?
I know they're able to kind of look at the broader market, so I don't think they're beholden to one insurance carrier, but whatever that tells you.
Yeah, so what have your guys' renewals looked like over the last few years? Have they been pretty standard, or have you guys been seeing, some differences in, when the agent comes to you, are you guys filling out different forms, or are you seeing just kind of a lot of the same thing?
Sure. There's always some paperwork, and then there's always, the 110-page bathroom reader that
Right.
eventually makes its way to, I won't even say my desk, to my scanner and then to a digital file.
Right.
But it's really, again, part of, feeling like we're kind of outgrowing them. It used to be that you could have this kind of automatic renewal process. And as we grow, as we have more moving pieces, it feels like there ought to be more conversation
Sure.
And it's still just sort of a, 1, 2, 3 done kind of process without some of that hands-on feel. On the flip side, I've got limited time, right? Got a lot of things to do, but I just want to make sure that, as things change, as we grow, everything is the way it needs to be and isn't just this static, okay, sign here, you're renewed, you're done, because the business today does not look the way the business looked 3, 4, 5 years ago.
And quite honestly, it's probably not the way the business is going to look in 3 to 5 years in the future. We at All American Insurance, we have a huge focus on meeting with you face to face. You can do it. COVID obviously made stuff a little bit difficult, but we tried our best to get through it. And honestly, we're kind of at your beck and call. Anytime that you have something that pops up, at the end of the day, you're a client, you're somebody that we're working for, and we want you to be as happy as you can with our services. So you're not going to get just some random document sent over your way and told to sign here. We want to walk you through the stuff as much as you want to know about it, and as much as your time will allow.
Great. Yep. We typically try to work our renewals about 4 months out. Obviously, we know that your time is limited, and so we walk the line on how much to burden you with and how much we can take on. But we're giving your account plenty of attention well out from renewals. So
when you say 4 months out, when are you coming to me? Because 4 months, I get it. You guys have a lot to do on the back end, right?
Right.
You got to get things ready.
Right.
But if I'm 120 days from renewal, it's kind of the last thing I want to be thinking about.
Absolutely, and that's a lot of stuff for us is gaining loss history from carriers, following up with you, getting supplemental apps. Like, we like to be ahead of the game, and honestly, the carriers are also not going to be thinking about your account 4 months out because they're focusing on their accounts that are renewing, coming up. And so we're just getting in their head first. A lot of that stuff isn't going to see your desk until probably 45 to 30 days out.
That's reasonable. I can do that.
So yeah, but we're giving it attention as far as 120 days out.
Great. Good to know. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So Brett, do you have any other needs that you want to talk about before we kind of jump into our program that we kind of got laid out here?
I think we've kind of covered it all. So let's see what you got.
Awesome. So if you want to kind of follow along, we got this handout. Essentially, it's kind of an agenda to keep us on track. If you see anything that kind of pops out at you, feel free. But we're going to start off with property insurance. So as we talked a little bit, with appraisal, it's been a while. We want to make sure that you're insured up to the correct agreement, to the correct value. So again, that's going to be no cost to you. That's something that our partner insurers will do. And we want to make sure that you're covered up to the amount that you need. Then that brings us to agreed amount and co-insurance. Are you aware of whether or not your current policy is agreed amount or co-insurance percentage?
It sounds familiar that there's like an 80 or a 90% something or other.
Yeah. So that would be co-insurance. So essentially what that means is if your property limits aren't up to, say it's 80%, if they are 80% of your replacement value, then you won't get your full payout that you're supposed to be getting. So what we do with all of our accounts is we get agreed amount clause on it. So essentially you and the insurer will work on, this is part of the appraisal, you'll find the agreed amount on your property value. And if anything were to happen, you've got that set in stone and you're going to get the payout that you need.
Got it. And is that reviewed annually or?
It probably would be. It kind of depends on the carrier. Each carrier does it differently. But with the markets we have, and if that's something that you would like to be renewed annually, reviewed annually.
Well, if it's set in stone, it's just the kind of thing where, I have a friend who their homeowners insurance, they've had State Farm for like 25 years. And they valued the house 25 years ago, and it's like, how could this possibly still be, appropriate? Right. So as long as that's periodically reviewed, I think that's
absolutely.
That's going to be important to us.
With the rising cost of everything right now, that's absolutely something that we're going to look to do.
Awesome.
Yeah. So then we've got this contingent business interruption. So we know with IQL, you guys have a really interconnected web of all of your suppliers and your installers. So you guys are obviously really reliant on your electrical manufacturer or electrical supplier, key component. Then you guys have a lot of the sheet metal stuff. That's obviously you got a lot more sources to pull from. But with supply chain issues, you kind of view all of your material as at risk. But let's focus on the electrical. So say
That's
that,
the biggest, they've
yeah.
got one source, yeah.
right, so say a hurricane wipes out that plant, you guys obviously can't make your lights anymore, right? That's obviously gonna cut into all of your revenue streams, because you can't make your products, and it's gonna funnel through to everybody else. This contingent business interruption is gonna cover you for lost income streams, should that plant go out of business or have to shut down for some time.
How much and how long?
That's something that we'll have to review as we get into it. I can't give you exact specifics.
Okay.
The policy is a little bit different, but that's definitely something we'll work with you to get something that's adequate for everybody.
Awesome.
So that also can also work on the design firm side and your installers for your contractors. But on the flip side, obviously, if anything happens to your business, you want to make sure that you're covered. And say that hurricane wipes out your plant, we want to make sure that you have your revenue income streams. So you're going to have business income and extra expense for you personally as well.
Awesome. And that, does that cover if something happens off premises as well? I know through some of the hurricanes we've had the last couple of years, you know, a power line goes down 2 miles away and we've got no power, we can't produce anything. Is that a coverage that can be included, or is that part of it already?
That's something that we're probably gonna have to get back to you on.
Yeah, okay.
There is I know that for a fact there's policy language that will give us an answer. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you, so we'll get right back to you on that.
I appreciate you not just coming
Yeah.
up with something on the fly.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't wanna be in a situation down the road where you're like, you told me that it would be covered,
Yeah.
you know, so.
We aim for transparency here, and you know, at the end of the day, if we're out here just telling you stuff to get you on board, we can't fulfill that down the line. We're gonna lose this business down the line anyway. So be upfront, and we'll get back to you on that.
I greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. So the only other thing that we have on the property side is equipment breakdown coverage. It's pretty straightforward, and honestly, you probably have it already. But essentially, you obviously have a lot of expensive equipment that you need to manufacture all of your lights, right? If something were to happen to those and you know you can't produce your lights anymore, this breakdown coverage will kick in and get you your payout so you can go back and pay for any repairs that you need to get back up and running.
Awesome.
Yeah. Any questions about commercial property before we kind of move forward? Any concerns with what we've kind of covered?
Any idea, without getting into minutia, what kind of exclusions you may run into, we may run into on the property side? Because that's been a challenge, especially given our geographic location. It seems like the market just keeps getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And obviously we're growing, so we're taking on more and more risk. And it seems like it's harder and harder to have it covered. But are there any new surprise exclusions you're seeing for this area?
As far as new exclusions, I mean, the biggest one that jumps to mind over the last 2 years is just like a communicable diseases exclusion with COVID. But I mean, that doesn't have a huge impact on your property.
Okay.
I probably couldn't tell you many off the top of my head, to be honest with you. But again, that's something that we try to stay up to date with, and we've got more research to do.
God bless Florida on that one. Our legislature took care of that.
Sure.
We're not going to have, and of course we followed all the protocols, and especially with an assembly line, you want to have people safe and spaced and PPE, all that good stuff. But
Right.
Good old Florida.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, has there been anything major that you haven't gotten payouts for losses?
No, thank goodness. But it's again one of those things where I've got some peers in the industry, and I play golf with a guy who's a property casualty agent. He doesn't really do large commercial, but he talks all the time about, oh, I can't write this anymore. Oh, this is excluded. Oh, these companies are killing me. So that's really why I asked the question.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. We know that your time is important, and we want to value that. So we want to jump into a little bit of the liability stuff really quickly. Products and completed operations. One of the biggest things we see here, kind of as we touched on earlier, you have an intricate web of relationships between your suppliers, your design firm, your installation firm. Should a suit come out of the fault of anybody, we want to make sure that you're covered, because regardless of whether it's the installation firm or the design firm who's at fault, you're likely going to be named in a suit, and so we would request that you be named as an additional insured on both the design firm and installation firm's commercial packages. This is just going
Standard stuff.
Yeah, standard stuff, just going to give you coverage just in case. One of the other things that we've seen recently, do you guys have cyber coverage currently with your policy?
I don't know that we do.
Okay, so this is something that we've been recommending to a lot of our manufacturing firms over the last few years. Since 2012, we've seen that cyber claims are up over 4,000%, and this isn't just the frequency, but the severity of them also. Hackers are getting very smart, and they're shutting companies like yours down for extended periods of time, and that can really hurt. So,
Target, Dairy Queen.
yeah, I mean, we want to add that on. We think it's an important thing. There are a few other coverages: employment practices, employee benefits. Those are pretty standard. As far as your auto goes, we think that you guys don't have a huge auto exposure. What we would say is having a blanket hired non-owned coverage. It's not scheduled, but say anyone runs to get a supply somewhere, runs to the bank to drop off some checks or pick up some checks, they get in an accident, make sure they're covered. And then for goods being shipped, obviously you guys have motor carriers that ship your goods out. That's kind of out of your hands. But one thing we would recommend, just making sure that their limits are adequate, and that if you.
But do I really have any exposure there, other than the cargo?
Other than the cargo being lost, yes. But if their limits aren't adequate and there is a loss, then it's not necessarily promised that you would be indemnified under their policy. Yeah, and that's where it's going to come down to is litigation, and so that's something to review with them and something that we can always add additionally if needed.
Right, I'm just trying to figure out if it's their truck, their driver. I mean, I understand we have a contract with them.
And I'm not saying it's a coverage that you need. I would just say it's not a bad business practice to just qualify that with them, maybe an email or a phone call.
Okay.
Check a certificate of insurance or something like that.
More to do. More to put on my to-do list.
And that's something that we can handle for you as well. We don't want to
Okay.
burden you with that. That's something that our agency can take a look at.
That's something, if we had time, I'd love to hear, because as we continue to grow and we're looking for a certain relationship with an insurance provider, I should have thought of this before when you asked, is what value addeds can you provide? Because that's something, the market's a finite place, right? And you can call 5 agents and they're all going to have a different market here or there, but there's sort of a profile. So it comes down to relationship, and you gentlemen seem professional and fantastic, but also value adds.
Well, hey, you're gonna love our next topic, workers' comp.
All right.
So
let's go there.
Workers' comp is a big one. I mean, everybody's got to have it. One of the things that we see with your business is that you guys do have some seasonal, for a lack of a better term, but you guys do have some other workers come in that aren't just part-time.
Mhm.
And so what we would recommend is maybe putting you guys on a payroll reporter monthly. What this does is you report your payrolls every month. You get charged adequate premium every month. There's no surprises in that audit. Another thing that we wanted to ask you, are you guys aware of what your experience mod is?
I think it's 0.89.
Okay, that's impressive. What have you guys been doing? Loss control wise to kind of keep that mod down?
We have a management level person who's in charge of safety programs, and we have a monthly, we have a weekly meeting, but once a month we do a little safety module, and for every month that goes by without an incident, basically we give everyone a little bonus or have a luncheon or something. We just try to incentivize it. And, if you just do things the right way and don't accept the wrong way when somebody tries to cut corners,
Right.
It goes a long way.
Yeah, we agree. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Do you guys implement any light duty return to work programs?
We really haven't had any big losses, and that's again something that if we get into a business relationship, I'd seek your counsel on. But obviously, if somebody goes beyond comp benefits and their short-term disability benefits that we have as part of our employment package, if there's always work to be done, right? So if somebody from the manufacturing line can come back and do desk duty and there's work to be done, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Okay.
Right. Fantastic.
I mean, yeah, I think that's one of the things that we see a lot of value add with people in the manufacturing space is cutting down on their work comp costs. We've done a great job at that. It seems like you guys are doing well. So that's one thing that we will try to keep going through our relationship. I would say too, we have an in-house claims specialist who helps facilitate your guys' claims, works with adjusters and lawyers and stuff like that. that's somebody that we front the cost for, because we just feel like it's a value add one for our clients.
The carriers you work with, is there a rebate or dividend or whatever it's called program?
I would have to check. I know that there are a handful that do dividend plans, but it's not something that we have, it's not something that our clients have seeked out.
Mhm.
So if it's something that you're wanting to take a look at, we would be more than willing
But with
to.
a favorable mod, I don't want to get money back.
Sure.
And I understand it could take 6, even 12 months, but you know, with our size payroll and growing, I mean, granted, the in-house payroll is a fraction of what the total labor cost, including subs and stuff, is from the vendors. But anywhere I can save a buck,
Right.
while still acting properly.
That's absolutely something that we're willing to explore with you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Brett. You're pretty well versed in the insurance for sure. I think a lot of our clients, we walk in and a lot of them are just trying to get through a meeting and bounce to something else. But I don't know if it's from playing all the golf with your insurance agent buddy, but I can tell you, you're well versed and you're in a good spot here.
I appreciate that, and you know, it boils down to, look, we're a successful growing business. You got to be engaged. You got to know what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I think that we've covered most of the stuff with our product. I know that we're running short on time, and we really do want to follow up with you. We feel that we've had a great conversation. Would you feel comfortable with scheduling a meeting maybe sometime next week to follow up on some of the stuff? I know that, you know, there's some things to consider, and if there's anything that we want to discuss right now before we leave, or, you know, leave it today, we'd be happy to do so. But would you be interested in meeting again in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's some great opportunity here, and you know, I think it'd be a good idea for me to pursue working with All American and with you gentlemen.
Great. Fantastic. Well, are you free again on Wednesday next week at this time?
I should be. I'll tell you what, on your way out, if you stop at the reception desk, my admin, Dave Newell, he's got the master calendar, and we'll set something up.
Great, we can do that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And we'll send over that information about the information that we discussed.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Have a nice day, Brett.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Take care.
Go well.